I'm so excited and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control and I think I like it. No, that is not the new slogan on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. That is indeed AEW Dynamite's new opening theme song. We'll get into that soon, but welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, the first podcast of 2025. I do hope that you had a happy New Year's Day yesterday, and I hope 2025 is full of happiness and good health to you all. If you are back on the grind today, try and do your best to enjoy it. If, like me, you've still got a couple of days before Ryan starts at the shoot job, enjoy your last few days of freedom before you go back to the grind, as we say. Although the grind on the Hitting the Turnbuckle never stops. We're constantly on the grind on here for your viewing pleasure. Anyway, let's get to AEW Dynamite, the first one of the new era for them as well. Don't forget that Warner Brothers Max and the streaming and whatnot as well. So they were celebrating a new era as well. And like I said, the opening message on this podcast, they have a new opening theme for Dynamite, and it is a 1980s pop song, which is different. Look, they have got Elton John's coming back for Collision for Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. And now they got I'm So Excited. It's different. Look, at the end, is it going to be everyone's cup of tea? Probably not. But look, there's no harm in being different. We're so used to having wrestling songs to have rock or rap or maybe some up to date music. I don't think there's any harm in it. It may take a while for it to grow on people. I think that's the thing. My thing is that when I heard it, I actually had to rewind straight away. I was like, wait, what? Like, is that real? 'Cause I'm so not used to having a song like that play out. But look, it's different. It may take some time for people to get used to it, but I think it will grow on people eventually, and it will be something that you can, jingle to if that's even a word now. Christmas is out of the way. But look, new song, it's all good. And yeah, it may take a bit of time to get there, but it's different. Like, there's no harm in being different. Different is a good thing. That is for sure. Look, and it kicked off with, well, as me and Dave used to say when we used to do these podcasts together, when AEW, with our AEW stuff, we used to say, what better way to kick off um the new era of Dynamite, or better way to kick off Dynamite, than our good friend Mr. Orange Cassidy, he was going after Hangman Adam Page. And obviously they had there was it part of the Fatal Four Way at World's End, obviously come up short. Moxley retained there, so they're just countering from there, or carrying on from there. Really, I tell you what though, I don't like, so I'm not going to be negative at all, but this didn't work. The psychology between these two wasn't really there, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me in this match. Even the physicality seemed a little bit off. I don't know. Maybe it was just an off day. Look, we get it from time to time. Matches that you think work don't necessarily work all the time, and this one was the same. Look, the finish to this was quite. I just felt, look, Orange Cassidy hits three finishers. Hangman Page hits one and gets the win with a buckshot. I don't know. It just didn't, it didn't work for me, this one. And I thought it would, and I think the disappointing thing was I thought it was going to work, but it just felt really off. The finish I didn't like. Like I said, Orange hits three finishers, can't get the job done. Hangman hits one, gets it done. It it just, yeah, it didn't work. I'm really annoyed because I thought I had so much when I saw Orange and Hangman come. I thought, yeah, this is going to do well. I'm going to like it. First time ever match, of course, between the two singly, and it just didn't work. Unfortunately, didn't work anyway. But look, it happens. These things happen. Sometimes matches at work don't work. Sometimes it takes a couple of matches and then you get to they have another one later and it just works. But for me, this one didn't missed the beat on this one. Didn't hit right at all, unfortunately. But look, Hangman Page picks up the victory. After the match, he does continue to attack Orange. It's a dead eye. And then he hits another one, and the officials hit the ring. Christopher Daniels hits the ring and managed to break it up. But Yeah, not a good start on that one for 2025 for those two. Look, listen, better things to come. And I'm sure, look, they have a match again in a couple of weeks' time. It will, it will click. They'll probably go into a program because of that uh, after match attack from Hangman Page. They'll probably go into a little program. So perhaps then it gets momentum, it builds up, and then the match might hit right the second or third time, depending on the length of the program. So look, it was disappointing, but I think, like again, some of these matches don't always hit right. You just got to remember that. That's for sure. And I said, the second match we could be raving about the second match, and that's wrestling, right? That's what happens. So we'll see what happens in the future between those two. But looking like a singles program, starting with Hangman and Orange, and just excuse me, black coffee has to be done. Not long. Finished watching Dynamite, of course, being in the UK. So just give me a second. Black coffee, no sugar, guys. Don't do it. Seriously, don't do it. Anyway, let's move on. So the Acclaimed were next against the Hurt Syndicate. Look, we know there's issues with Bowens and Caster, and that played heavy into this. They were arguing about who was going to start. Caster, basically, Lashley just blasted Caster, and away we go. This match was nothing more than a squash match for the Hurt Syndicate. However, they did do. I think they did miss a beat here with a tag. Caster and Bowens. Caster did try to make the tag. I think they didn't quite hit, so they had to redo the spot. Caster hits the tag. There was a release German. Um, Three release Germans, shall I say? Bowens drops off the apron, and Caster gets a fourth. And I'm not quite sure what happened here for this. Again, it was nothing more than a squash. And the Hurt Syndicate picks up the victory. Caster taps to the Hurt Lock. Obviously, now it's looking like the Acclaimed are going to be splitting up. Now, that's not a bad thing. I think sometimes tag teams need to split just to go to separate to try their luck at singles or to do what they need to do. For me, it's been teased for a while. Was a bit surprised it was Bowens. So not quite sure about that, but we'll see what happens with that. I think Max Caster is a born heel. I think the way that he comes across, what he's like on the mic, the rap that he does is very much along the lines of, he's a good heel, and he will be a good heel, assuming that's the way to go. Bowens, he's a baby face. The crowd love him. It'll work if they do it that way. If they try and reverse it and do Bowens as the heel and Castle the face, I don't think it works. But listen, this match was nothing more than a squash. Got the Hurt Syndicate over a bit more, and yeah, we'll see what happens with it. There's nothing much to talk about in that one, just because it was just a glorified squash match for the Hurt Syndicate, and it was just a tease that split within the Acclaimed a bit more, which they've done very, very well. So we'll see what happens with that. But win for the Hurt Syndicate. They start 2025 with a dub. They done a little bit about Swerve was backstage with Prince Nana. And focus was getting back into the title picture. He's never been in the Casino Gauntlet, which is next week, by the way. And that will be so they got a Casino Gauntlet next week. The winner of that will face Moxley. I think in 2 weeks after that, another special dynamite. They do a lot of special dynamites. This was Fight of the Fallen, and they got another one in a couple of weeks' time. And just apologies for can't quite remember what that one was called, but they're doing another special dynamite, which is nice. I like the special dynamites. That's for sure. But Swerve in the Gauntlet. That's what we do know. Now, a returning Julia Hart and Jamie Hayter. So when Julia Hart come back, she did indeed attack Jamie Hayter. Great to see Julia Hart back. Jamie Hayter, I'm not sure what's happened here with Jamie. She's come back from injury, and I'm not sure what's going on with Jamie Hayter. It seems as though she's missed a step. I'm not quite sure. It's a strange one with Jamie. I'm not quite sure what's gone on there with her, the injury. I know it was a serious one, had her out for a long, long time. She's not been as destructive as she was when she was the first time. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happened here. This one also didn't click here. They didn't seem as if they were on the same page, which is a real shame because I felt as if this one could have worked very well. Um, the commercial break, I think, right in the middle of this match killed a lot of them, didn't do them a favor, killed a lot of momentum that they may have had. Yeah, it just did another one that just didn't work. And again, I'm not sure if it could have been another first time ever. It may be one of those ones again that clicks later on. It didn't work. And it's a real shame because Julia Hart excited for the comeback. The promos have been brilliant. It would have been good to see Jamie Hayter get a bit of, a bit momentum because it's kind of not happened since she's come back. But it just didn't work. Really, I hate to say it just didn't. These first three matches on Dynamite just haven't. Well, I mean, the Hurt Syndicate, you can't even call that a match. But Hangman and Orange didn't work. Yeah, the squash. Hayter and Julia didn't work. Julia does pick up the win. She did have an arrow. The referee took the arrow from her, and as she took that, she spit the mist in Hayter's face for the win. So look, it didn't necessarily hurt Jamie losing because of the mist. Again, this could be a program. Um, but yeah, again, it just didn't hit. It's such a shame. Again, look, in a couple of weeks' time they could be having match of the night and it could have just been one of those first match things that happen and they do happen. Listen, it's wrestling, right? It doesn't work. This didn't work for me. I'm not saying it didn't work for everybody else, by the way. This is just my opinion watching the match. It just felt like it didn't work again, which is a shame, especially when that first match doesn't hit. The squash in between, you know can't really have an opinion on that. But yeah, not good. What was good was the great history package that was showing you the history of Osprey and Fletcher. That was great. And again, the AEW do that well. When they do their promo packages, they really do a great promo package. I do like that. On top of that, we get the news that Kenny Omega returns next week. Now, he is in Japan. I think they got Wrestle Dynasty this weekend, and he's facing Gabe Kidd over in Japan. So interesting one for her. But he returns to Dynamite next week, sorry. Looking forward to seeing what the cleaner has to say upon his return to Dynamite, which is that's exciting. I'm liking that. I do like Kenny Omega, and I like the fact that he's back next week on Dynamite. He did return at World's End. It's a bit of a weird one. They didn't follow up straight away, but obviously because he's wrestling over in Japan, they couldn't really, I suppose they couldn't really follow up on it straight away, which is a shame. But nevertheless, the fact that he's back next week will be good. Mercedes Moné was next. Not wrestling again, but she was on the mic and she's got a match against Mina coming up again at Wrestle Dynasty this coming Sunday. That's what it was, Sunday. Yes, I'm reading my notes now properly. And yes, Sunday she comes back and she's going after the Revolution Pro Wrestling Championship as well. She's defending her championship over in Japan. And it's title v title, Rev Pro Women's Championship on the line. I'm sure Andy Cordon's got a vested interest in that next Sunday. I mean, by next Sunday, he could have a new Revolution Pro Women's Champion in Mercedes Moné. I mean, that's a big thing for Brit Rest over there. We'll see what happens in that match. It should be a good match. If you're watching Wrestle Dynasty like me on Sunday, we'll find out when we do. But this was just a run-of-the-mill interview with Mercedes Moné. And yeah, we'll see what happens this coming Sunday. Will she be I can't imagine Mercedes as the Revolution Pro Women's Champion. I don't know. Well, stranger things have happened in life. She puts on banger matches now as well, Mercedes Moné. Last couple have been really, really good, I have to say. As much as I don't particularly like her, but there we go. No, we'll see what happens Sunday. Mercedes Moné could have another championship on her shoulder. We'll see. Marvez backstage with the Undisputed Kingdom. 2025 is going to be different for them. They had a lot of injuries last year, and again, they never really got going last year, and they've got all the bases covered. But tonight is all about Roderick Strong, who was in the triple threat match to get the #1 spot in a Casino Gauntlet, as was Swerve Strickland, Roderick Strong, and Jay White. So the assumption is you can bank on those three being in the Casino Gauntlet next week. I think that's near enough a lock for next week. Those three you could pretty much guarantee will be in that gauntlet match next week, which will be good. Listen, I love Casino Gauntlet matches. They are a bit of a cluster, uh, but it is what it is. I do like them. They are a bit of fun. They are a bit of fun. And look, this match finally, this worked for us. It was a fun triple threat match between the three. These three have good chemistry, of course. These three have good chemistry, and I'm really, three men that really could do with something happening. Something a lot of good stuff happening in 2025. However, Swerve Strickland attacked by Ricochet as the match comes to an end. He grabbed him by the hair, blasted him in the face with a pair of gold scissors. Strong and Jay White get back into the ring. Jay White hits the Blade Runner for the victory. Finally, Jay White picks up a victory. And you know what? Jay White needs a year. Really does need a big year. He come on board. I remember when he debuted, myself and Andy were like, this is not the best way to debut someone. He then picked up a ton of momentum. We were sitting here saying he's actually got, big, it's looking great for him. Fell off a cliff, got injured, never really come back and done anything. Now we saw the Jay White that we need to see, and hopefully this is going to be a year for him. And he picks up a big win here. Does he go on to face Moxley? I mean, he has to win the gauntlet next week, of course, but he could be next in line for a shot at John Moxley. Now, this match, although finished, Ricochet still has the scissors. Swerve is busted, and Ricochet is carving Swerve up at ringside. Nana tries to intervene. Ricochet shoves him and hits him with the chair as well. He hits a split gun in the ring, and he is completely covered in Swerve's blood. And surprisingly, the Undisputed Kingdom hit the ring at this point and make the save, which was quite, it was quite a surprise to see that. But Ricochet, full-fledged heel turn. He's been teasing it. The crowd have been on his back recently, and finally, that it is now. If it was ever in doubt, it is now 100% heel turn for Ricochet. I just feel he needs a mouthpiece. Him and the mic doesn't work at all. Does he need Samantha? Does he need someone to come in and just be his mouth? I mean, look, when he does, I mean, to be fair, he does come across like a cocky shit when he's on the mic, but it just doesn't. I don't listen to him and think, it doesn't hit when he talks. Although, as I said, he can come across like a cocky shit. So I don't know with him. The heel turn, definitely good. Looking forward to seeing what happens there. Just not a fan of him on the mic. So I think he's going to need somebody. That's for sure. Backstage, Alex Marvez, they was back with Lethal Dutch, Satnam Singh, and Karen Jarrett. And she shows up and she says she knows this business is what brought them together. And it's Jeff as well, by the way. But it's also what's completely broke him. She says, whatever Jeff wants, she wants. And she hands Jeff Jarrett his boots. And he prepares to come and deliver the news. Jeff Jarrett had a career announcement coming up on Dynamite. But before then, Mariah May was here with a title. She thinks the women's division is great. She had more matches last year than any other woman, and the rest of them didn't crack the top 10. She doesn't have an epic. She is epic, and the rest of the women can't touch her. Well, that's kind of true. She was the best woman, or she was one of the best women, in terms of character-wise, Toni Storm, but we know that Toni Storm was timeless. She beat Timeless. She's now back as Rookie Storm. We haven't seen her since, when was it, World's End? She hadn't seen her since the opening of World's End, actually, since the first pre-show match or the kickoff match at World's End. So we haven't seen Toni Storm since then. Of course, we're going to expect a slow build to that. Obviously, coming over soon, AEW goes to Australia for a show. So we got to factor that into consideration as well. The Buddy Matthewses, the Jay Whites, the Tony Storms of this world. So we Jay White, and again, that kind of makes sense for Jay White picking up the victory in that match, right? Where they're heading to soon, Australia. So let's go think of that. But Mariah May, who's next for Mariah May? That's the question. That is a big question. Who is next for Mariah May? Well, we didn't find out this week on Dynamite. We'll probably find out next week. But Jeff Jarrett comes to the ring. And you know what? He's basically going through his career accolades, starting in the business, he started his, and, Jeff Jarrett in 2002 obviously launched TNA. He's a 12-time heavyweight champion, two-time Hall of Famer. And, Jeff Jarrett says, you know what? Is it time for Jeff to ride off into the sunset? Hell no, it is not. But he has signed his very last professional wrestling contract. And the last outlaw wants AEW gold, not the trios gold, not the tag team gold. No, sir. He wants to become the AEW World Heavyweight Champion in 2025. Oof. Oh, wow. Jeff Jarrett's just saying last pro wrestling contract. Don't know how long it's for. Is it for a year? Is it for 2 years? We don't know. But he has signed his last pro wrestling contract. So he's going to retire at AEW and he wants the heavyweight championship. Well, that's interesting. That is last thing I expected was Jeff Jarrett to say he wants to be AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Um, I don't know if it'll happen. It's not something I was even thinking about discussing on this. It'll be interesting to hear Gary Joe on Sunday when we have Gary Joe back to round up AEW this week. It'll be interesting to hear what he has to think about this. Yeah, Jeff Jarrett, AEW champion. We'll have to see. We'll come back to that on Sunday. It's a question for Gary Joe. But after that, Hook, I think he was sitting on some sort of stoop, and he challenges Christian to a match in 2 weeks. Now, what AEW have been actually doing really, really well recently is having planning matches weeks in advance, so you kind of know what you're going to get, which is great. It was announced about the casino battle royal thing yesterday before Dynamite for next week, and the winner goes on in 2 weeks to face Moxley. Now we've got Hook challenging Christian for a match in 2 weeks' time. Like this, I like that because it sets up things coming up. You know what's going to be happening, which is great. It's good to have that rather than them just posting out graphics ahead of the Dynamite show. We are now knowing that in 2 weeks' time, Hook's going to get Christian. That I like that. I think that's a great touch from AEW. They're doing the right thing there. Enjoy that. And I do like the fact they're announcing matches weeks and weeks in advance because it's better than just throwing the matches up on the day of Dynamite or the day of Collision or whatever. So enjoy that. Very, very well done. Hook and Christian, they do need they certainly do need their match after everything, and we'll see what happens there. Yet another squash match next. Powerhouse Hobbs against Rob Killjoy and John Cruz. Yeah, I mean, Powerhouse Hobbs just absolutely destroyed them, to be quite honest with you. There really wasn't much of a match at all. But Powerhouse Hobbs, look, we said this on Sunday when we were reviewing World's End, obviously Dave and Mongo and myself and Gary Joe, like, they need to get someone that needs a year. Needs a year in AEW. Powerhouse Hobbs is that man. He needs to be booked right. We need to see the real Powerhouse Hobbs, and I hopefully that we do. That's for sure. On a side note, it was really great to see there was a picture posted, I think by Mia Yim of the WWE, of Keith Lee this weekend, and he looked great. And I'm hoping that's a start of us seeing Keith Lee. He looked in great shape, looked like he had dropped 50 pounds, looked really, really well. And which is a great thing. And hopefully Keith Lee's coming back to AEW and we'll see him in an early part of 2025. But he looked really well, just as a side note. So it's great, great to see. Big Bill and Brian Keith were next with Marvis. Jericho isn't coming tonight, but Bill sees the hometown heroes and it's rated FDR. And home is where you find yourself. Well, okay. Well, there you go. Wasn't really much into that. Jericho weren't there. retained the Ring of Honor Championship against Mark Briscoe. Was it Mark Briscoe he was facing? I can't remember. Apologies. Um, However, Mark Briscoe does take on Daniel Garcia this week for the TNT Championship. They showed you the video of World's End, and MJF says finally the chapter of Better Than You, Baby, comes to a close, and it's time for the next chapter. It's time for retribution. Something was taken for MJF, and that was his Triple B, which is the AEW Championship. And now the Triple B is being paraded around in a briefcase. That is the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. John, what's a king to a god? Ain't nobody on the level of the devil, and nobody knows that better than Johnny Boy. So MJF is going after the AEW World Heavyweight Championship from John Moxley. We were talking about this at the weekend. Is MJF a heel? Is he a face? What's going on? I mean, the Undisputed Kingdom helping Swerve. It's kind of a bit disjointed there. In terms of, well, the Undisputed Kingdom, they were beating up MJF after the match at World's End. What's going on there? It didn't feel like it finished to me. And is MJF a heel? Is he a face? And the Undisputed Kingdom faces? I'm not quite sure. Listen, Death Riders are definitely heels. I know that much. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? Like, make it make sense, kind of thing. I mean, look, it's interesting. It is interesting. MJF going for the gold again, so that will be another one for Moxley. But I just need some clarification as to who's the faces and who's the heels in this. What's going on? Because it was a bit all over the place. On that sense and on that note. So look, MJF going after Moxley when we don't know. That's the other thing. When is it going to happen? We've just said right there and then that Moxley's got potentially more opponents. Jeff Jarrett wants him. He's got an opponent coming up in 2 weeks of the Casino Battle Royal. And that for me, there's a lot going on. So and I like that. I do like that. Um, and basically, the other side of this is, and just as a side note, as a switch back up to about Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree, um, Copeland and Rated FTR challenged them to a trios match on Collision this weekend. That's where but anyway, speaking of Rated FTR, now, Adam Copeland is going by the name of Rated R Cope by the looks of things. That was what his thing was on the this barrel on the name come up at the start. Rated R Cope. Listen, I enjoyed this match between the Death Riders and Rated FTR. It was great. Thoroughly enjoyed their match. Now, Jay White did indeed get involved later this match. He hit Wheeler Yuta. He did. Sorry, he hit Yuta with a Blade Runner, which allowed the Shatter Machine and a spear on Yuta and got the job done. The only criticism, and it's not even a criticism. The only thing is you can't. Yuta has always been the fall guy, whether it's Blackpool Combat Club, whether it was Death Riders. It's always been Wheeler Yuta that's taken the fall, and that for me weakens Wheeler a little bit. And I don't like the fact that he's taking it all. He's the one taking the falls on this all the time, constantly. It doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. But the main event was a ton of fun. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, Rated R Cope was in, everyone was going to win on that, so that was good. Finally, though, this was a tale of two halves. The first half, I felt it was a little bit off. Something was amiss with Cassidy. Jamie and Julia wasn't quite, didn't quite hit right. I mean, that was a question as who the fans meant to cheer for in that, 'cause they like both. And again, it was going back to faces and heels and all that. The show then definitely picked up for the triple threat match. Ricochet, the full-fledged heel turn. It's really, really good. And also in his, I know it sounds stupid, but Ricochet just in his glasses just makes a total difference. It really, really does. But you go and MJF that he's now saying he's done with Adam Cole. And obviously Copeland, the return of Adam Copeland and you know And the ring also, what I would, and aside of that, the ring was lit and it was shot a bit differently than usual tonight. And that looked really, really, really good. So go out your way to check that. But yeah, definitely a tale of two halves, Dynamite. Definitely first hour didn't hit at all. Second hour was much, much better. And what we normally become associated with AEW, the second half. So look, 7.5 out of 10, maybe. If the first half had been a bit better, those first couple of matches had hit better, it could have been an 8.5 to a 9. So that goes to show you where they were. But uh, am I so excited? Can I just can't hide it? Do you know what? I'm looking forward to next week. Casino Gauntlet, love that. Starting some new feuds as well. Lots of enemies for Moxley still, which is great as champion. That is a good thing. And yeah, looking forward to some more Dynamite next week. Well, actually, looking forward to more AEW this week, this coming Sunday. Myself and obviously Gary Joe will be reviewing the whole week really. Talk to him a bit about this week and a bit about Collision this coming Saturday, which is looking good. And it'll be the return of the Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting theme song for Collision, which we all love as well. But guys, listen, we're starting the new year with a bang, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be having some more great interviews coming up on the show. Actually, this evening. We're doing the NWA Power Review with myself and the lovely Miss Fiona Lockwood. We're also going to be recording an NWA Spotlight with Black G's. Coming up tomorrow, I've got Natalie Sykes. I'm going to be sitting down and recording with CW Anderson and Ruthless Rob Drake. North Wrestling are coming on the show. Our good buddy of ours, Tig, and the Independent Showcase is coming on the show. And Hollywood Haley J graces us with her presence next week. We're sitting down and recording that next week. So lots happening on the show. Some really, really exciting things. Big year for us, big year for everyone. Look, if you're going to come back and join us a bit later on for the AEW show, please do. But until next time, everybody, enjoy your 2025. Buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.